What's going on? Welcome to the Shooting the Schmidt YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jonathan Smith. Thanks for checking out the video. I've got more thoughts on Indiana football. So they go to Columbus on Saturday and just get absolutely curb stomped. They lose 38-15. They get off to a good start. They force a 3-and-out. They march down the field. They score a touchdown. I think everyone was kind of like, oh, let's see what happens. And then Ohio State was like, no, we're going to blitz the rest of the game, and you are going to gain another yard. That's really kind of what happened. That paired with Indiana's inability to match up with the talent on the outside that Ohio State has led to them getting absolutely crushed. And some people are going to look at this game like, you know what, Indiana, they just got crushed by Ohio State. This proves that they don't belong in the playoff because they got beat by 3 possessions. I disagree. Despite the drubbing that Indiana suffered at the hands of Ohio State on Saturday, they still deserve a spot in the playoff. And it's not because Alabama lost, and it's not because Texas A&M lost, and it's not because Ole Miss lost, but Indiana still deserves a spot in the playoff over a 3-loss SEC team and over some of, maybe not all of, the other 2-loss power conference teams. Okay, now how can I say that? Right, I watched that game. I watched Ohio State dominate. I just saw Indiana get beat by 23 points. How can I have this opinion and it makes sense? The reason why I can have this opinion and it makes sense is because Ohio State's arguably the best team in college football. I think everyone would undoubtedly have them top 3, right? Oregon, Georgia, and Ohio State are probably the 3 best teams in the country. You can push back on Georgia, but Oregon and Ohio State are most likely the 2 best teams in all of college football. And so I have this opinion that even though Indiana got drubbed by 23 on Saturday, that they still belong in the college football playoff because of the history of the college football playoff. Rewind with me, will you? We've had 30 college football playoff games over the last decade, okay? With the 14 playoff, right? The winners of the college football playoff games have outscored the losers 1,192 to 634. Okay, that is a point differential of 558. In other words, these college football playoff games haven't been close. The average margin of victory for a college football playoff game in the past against who were supposed to be the 4 best teams in the country is 18.6. That is a 3-possession game. And these are against the top 4 teams in the country. Okay, most of these college football playoff games haven't been close. Of the 30 college football playoff games that have been played throughout history, only 9 of them have been decided by 1 possession. Only 9 of them. That's less than a third. Meanwhile, 18 of these college football playoff games have been decided by 3 possessions or more. That is over half of them. So even though Indiana got absolutely blown out on Saturday, they still undoubtedly deserve a spot because that game that we saw on Saturday between Ohio State and Indiana, that is what a normal college football playoff game looks like. And the difference is it's not, 1 versus, the 7 seed or the 1 versus the 8 seed. No. These are supposedly, in the previous years, the games between the 4 best teams in the country. And they look like what we saw on Saturday. So maybe Indiana's the 4th best team in the country. I don't know. Not really. They are not the 4th best team in the country. Let me separate myself from that take really quickly. But yes, they got crushed. Undoubtedly. That being said, there were still some areas of the game where they held their own. Okay, the run game, I thought they were really good. Judkins only averaged like 2 yards a carry or a little over 2 yards a carry. If you take away the 39-yard Travion Henderson rush, he was around 3.5 yards a carry. So it wasn't like Indiana just got crushed in every single phase of the game. Okay, they lost because Ohio State has superior talent on the edge. They do. Okay, like they've got 3 NFL wide receivers. Like there's like 2 teams in the country, Oregon and Georgia, who actually have the players on defense to match up with Ohio State in that area. Okay, and because they were so much better, Will Howard was awesome, 22 of 24, just lit them up, started 14 of 14, and then, Indiana's offensive line couldn't pick up a blitz. Okay, like those are the 2 reasons why they lost. by 23. And look, like, it makes sense. Ohio State has the best roster in the country. Like, they just do. Right? And this is oftentimes what happens. Like, the gaps between the best team in college football and the second, third, and fourth best team is usually pretty big. And I think we would all agree that Indiana is not one of the second, third, or fourth best teams in the country. They're probably somewhere around the 10th, right? There's some probably between 8 and 11 if you were to rank them honestly on who the best teams in the country are. So even though they got beat by 23, a 3-possession game, they still deserve to be in because this is what the majority of college football playoff games have looked like in the past. Okay? Like, I know we all want to think that a team like Ole Miss or Alabama or Texas A&M or whatever, insert, not Georgia or Texas here in terms of SEC teams. I know we want to think that those teams would have played Ohio State better than Indiana did, but history tells us that they wouldn't have. There's no way that they would have. So Indiana still deserves a spot in the college football playoff because they lost by 3 possessions, and that's usually how most of these college football playoff games between the top 4 teams in the country usually end, and that's what we saw on Saturday. We saw a superiorly talented Ohio State team take it to a fun story, still really good team in Indiana, and I just don't think that it should impact whether or not Indiana makes the college football playoff because, once again, this is what a lot of these college football playoff games look like. So that's going to do it for the video. Thanks for checking it out. Let me know in the comments what you think about the take. Subscribe, like, do all those things. I've got another video probably coming out at some point today about the Eagles and their win last night over the Rams, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. Once again, thanks for watching the video. I will talk to you again later.